Hello, everybody. I'm Kathy Popplewell, and today we're going to do our first laughter conversation. And our special guest is Phillipa Challis from Live Life Laughing in Victoria. She also runs Laughter Clubs Victoria. She's got 22 years experience in sharing laughter yoga with both the community and in corporate health and well-being. So I'm so excited to have this chat with Phillipa. It's we have met before over a decade ago at a laughter yoga conference. So it's really exciting to be back and connecting with her now. Phillipa, how are you?
All the better for being here with you and seeing your smile instead of just being on the Facebook and hearing your lovely laughter. So thanks for inviting me. Really pleased to be here, Kathy.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you. You have so much experience and wisdom to share. What I would love to start with is your story about how you first came across laughter yoga, and actually even prior to that. So I feel like when we've got our eye open for these sorts of things, that there must be some sort of gap in our life that we're noticing that leads us to have our perception open to something like laughter yoga coming in. Do you feel like that's true for you?
No.
No? Okay, well, let's go straight into your story about how did you come across laughter yoga?
Well, let's go right back to my childhood. I was fortunate to be born into a family of wonderful mum and dad. Dad, one of 12, mum, one of 10. So I thought that everybody just laughed, that laughter was part of life.
Yeah.
Sadly, Dad died when I was 14. And people often said to me, such a tragedy, it must have been so hard. Yes, it was hard without Dad there. However, there was still laughter, the family, little things, and the sense of humour. I remember my uncle saying, well, that'd be right, your father's gone and died just before your mum and dad's anniversary. What a cheapskate way to get out of buying a present. So the Jewish heritage of humour was always there. Move
Wow.
on into my working life, and I was very fortunate. After I left school, I went on into a corporate situation, and it was just wonderful. Found I had a flair of what I was doing, and at an early age became involved in doing staff training and development. And when I did that, people would always come to my sessions because they'd say on the evaluation, learn from Phillipa, and oh, we had lots of laughter. Move on. Lovely growing up into so many things, and that's another interview I can do with you another time, because unlike you with your wonderful life living off the grid, I had a fabulous life as a young girl and teenager, and married and had 10 wonderful years in Anglesey. Now, for those who don't know, Anglesey is on the Victorian surf coast. So, think Bells Beach with the board every year at Easter. They have the big heats, and then think of beautiful ocean roads. Moved into Geelong, where I've been for some years, and love it because it's the cross between living in Melbourne, where I grew up, and being in a lovely place that's got a beach 15 minutes away.
Mm.
When I look back on my career, and when I look at when I married retail, and it was a fabulous 10 years living down at Anglesey near the beach, people taking time out, people coming into my shop, and they'd just pop in and out. No, they'd stay, because we'd always end up laughing and having stories. And I didn't know it. I was a natural. I could sell to people, but they came back. The main thing is because I connected. And I put that down to being laughter as part of my life. As with my corporate areas, when I was doing the training, there was laughter. Didn't know and really recognise it until later on in life. So after 10 years living there, we moved into the metropolis of Geelong, which was a 215,000 people. We're now heading up, well, we're well over 260,000, if not 280 with environs. And over the years in business, I've always succeeded and done well. And so I became a speaker from the training came the speaking. And my number one topic was just that, your number one asset. Or if it was for a corporation, you are ABC's number one asset. And again, that evaluation would come through, and gee, it was so good. We had so many laughs, learned a lot. Threads there. I met was a friend from South Australia, and he got involved with the laughter industry.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first got me to have a sit-in on his session, I said, "Silly, what's this? Yeah, I don't need laughter. I've got enough laughter in my life." And that was way back, as you say, it was 90s is when we crossed paths. And then he expanded and set off getting lots of exposure. And we were in, I think it was Who magazine and one of the women's magazines, big article on laughter yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a terrific feature. And he rang me up and he said, "Now, Phillipa, I've had these 2 articles, I'm getting lots of calls, and you'll get some calls because anyone that rings for Victoria, I've sent to you." I said, "Why me?" The story goes like this. It was February 2001. Oh, 2000. And I started to take a note of the calls. Now, these are the days when you had all sorts. You had the fax machines. But when I mentioned that, not the emails as much, but when I went out speaking, whether it was at a conference and I was on stage and talking to whatever my topic was, and when I talked to that topic of your number one asset is you, or success has you in it, I'd always say you've got to have sections in life, your mental, emotional, physical, financial, family, entertainment. And I always said, make sure you're around people that you laugh a lot. Okay. So that's what happened. And when I started to take these calls in 2000, from February 2000 until December, I had hundreds of calls. And that was just from speaking on stage, the 2 articles that had been around, telephone calls, faxes, as I said. I started to mark them down. And in that period of time, I had, are you ready for this? Just under 500 inquiries. So I thought, maybe there is something in this.
Yeah.
So I remember flying to Sydney with Dr. Yip, Jan Yip, I think her name was, and I did some training. And then I, of course, did some with Dr. Kataria, our guru of giggling, as they call him. And I had people contacting me all the time. Now, I started the Laughter Club of Geelong. You can see the sign behind me. That was started in July, and it is 22 years. And we have never, ever missed a Saturday morning down by the waterfront where we do it outdoors, rain, hail, shine or snow. So that is the story of how it got to there. And when you do laughter and you're doing it in a group in public, what's the first thing you need? You have to have insurance, you have to buy bylaws. So I founded Laughter Clubs Victoria. I'm a committee member now, and in all those years we had some wonderful leaders come in and be Laughter President. And that was very important. So Laughter Clubs Victoria from all over Australia affiliated, and that's how they are able to have the insurance component, and that's important to mention. Do the training, and that's also, as you know, essential. People say, "Oh, that's easy, I can do that." No, you can't. What happens if you get someone in your group who isn't up to speed? We'll talk about that in a minute. And people that come along with different abilities, I say it's for all abilities, and therefore you have to be wary of it. And that is something I'm very proud of, that we have in fact got Laughter Clubs Victoria. And from there, it's just expanded over the years. And I think the reason I got into laughter, not for me, I mean, they say who teaches the teacher and how do I laugh? But I just laugh. I wake up every morning and I don't get out of bed till I've had a good laugh. I stretch and I laugh. I'm lying there, it might be cold, and what's ahead of me today? I literally do that every morning. And when I stand in front of the mirror, I say, "Hi, gorgeous." Well, it can
Oh, I
only
love
get better from there.
Yeah, fabulous. I love it. So I'd like, could I ask you to give us an example of like when you do your morning laugh, how long would you laugh for? And would you like just give us a little example in the chair there?
So I turn on the alarm, and it's always at 27 minutes past the hour, whether it's going to be 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. And when the alarm goes off, I put the TV on and I laugh until the news comes on at the half hour.
Yeah.
So if I've got a house full of people who are guests, is a little bit different than when I'm on my own, because when I'm on my own, I can laugh then. Another day. I made it through the night. I'm still here. Thank you, Lord. Oh, and everything's working. And that's when I do my bit of a stretch. The hands are working, the arms are working. I'm the legs, that's good. And I laugh. But if there is a guest in the house, that's when I do the most important one, the silent one. And
Yes,
I
I
literally do
love
that.
that. That's great.
And then under the shower, when I have a shower for morning, I don't sing anymore. Not that I ever really could, but I get under the shower and I laugh. A real good hearty, yeah, because no one else can hear me.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I love how you're not just laughing, but you're also saying positive things to yourself about the day and affirmations, and it's that gratitude and connecting to God as well. That's so beautiful. It's a gorgeous way to weave it all in together in a nice little tight pocket package.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
I've always had an attitude of gratitude. During my youth, I spent a lot of time playing sport. 6, 7 days a week I'd play sport because I loved it. And if I had a win, or if I got a goal, I did a lot of netball. And if I shot the goal and went in, I'd always say, thank you. Well, but I always used to say, thank you, Lord, for giving me that shot. Even now, I get a car park at the front door. Thank you, God. I thank you for that. I've always been of that attitude, and that's just a very personal thing. But when I see people enjoying the laughter, and why do I do it? And people say, Phillipa, you should be retired by now. The hundreds of presentations done. Yes, in the corporate sector, I do expect a fee for service. But when it comes to the community and helping self-care groups, it's always pro bono. And it's my joy and my gift that I can laugh, and I hope I can spread it. My passion is being that always I want to spread the happy dip.
Beautiful. I love that. So, well, obviously, like yeah, it's so beautiful. We all have such a different story about how we come to laughter. It's something that I really love, the diversity and the contrast as well. And so you've just always had that natural gift, and it's almost like it's already full and overflowing from you. So it just keeps coming out and gifting other people. What is it about laughter that you just have always intuitively known that is so beneficial that you just naturally want to share it with people?
So we go back to my childhood again, 12 years of age. I suppose that's what, year 7, I think. I was the height I am now, and this is going to date me because I'll say 5'6", which I think is 165, 68 centimetres. And all the other kids in the class only came up to here. So I was fully grown at that age. And kids can be hurtful.
Yes.
I mean, I wish I had the figure I had then, because they call me the Jolly Green Giant. I was so tall, but I was pretty damn gorgeous looking, I think, when I look back at the photos.
Mm.
And my mother taught me, you turn the other cheek. So if someone said something nasty about whatever, I'd laugh and say, oh, thank you for noticing. Yes. And I'm a Pollyanna. My glass is always half full, and I can see a silver lining. And I know it sounds cliche and all the rest of it, but that's just me. And at an early age, I found out that if you had friendship there, and I didn't know, it was just instinctive,
Yeah.
the laughter. And now I go into schools, and when I'm talking in schools and with groups of kids, and sometimes you can see a bit of bullying. I always find the girl that's the tallest, and you can see she's feeling awful because the shoulders are hunched. Don't notice me. And I'll say, please, your name is, would you mind just standing? I think it's just so lovely to meet a girl so beautiful and tall and slim. I hope you're going to look at modelling as a career. You know, so I like to find that. Or the cuddliest kid, I won't say fat, the cuddliest kid, and I'd say, thank you very much. Jimmy, is that your name? Jimmy, thank you. I'm so nervous coming here because it was all of you looking at me and only me looking out, but you had the best smile of anyone here. So instinctively and intuitively, I did that, and there'd be the laughter. So it's been a tool that I've used without knowing it. And even many years ago, I went as part of the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. For years, for 14 years, I presented on stage and did a laughter session. And then the Laughter Clubs Victoria took it on. And I remember a clairvoyant at the time, she said, I want to do a reading for you. And I said, well, I wasn't going to pay that money to have it. And so I'd never met this person, but she said, come, I will gift you a reading. Oh, we'll have a go. And she said, I can see you on the stage and you're laughing and you're laughing and you're laughing. But I can't see why people are clapping and applauding, but there's lots of laughter. It's just laughter around you. So I ran with that.
Oh.
So it's a wonderful thing to have in your portfolio that you have laughter and laughter yoga as something you can use to unleash great potential.
Yes. And with your experience with taking laughter yoga into a corporate setting for well-being and no doubt productivity and staff connection, could you share with us a little bit more about that for anybody that maybe has, that anybody that might be watching that might be thinking that they would like to train in laughter yoga to take it to share with corporates, or people that have a workplace that may be considering having somebody come in to share laughter yoga with their team? What are some of the benefits from your 22 years of experience of laughter yoga in that atmosphere?
I've literally done hundreds of organisations, small and large, and people say, well, how many is it worth doing for? And I say, one person. And they look at me, because if that person has laughter yoga as part of their toolkit, it'll help them. And I've done it, well, the biggest audience I've had is 16,000, and that was a corporate gig. And that was amazing because they're all in business there, and they'd come for one specific thing after a 3-year hiatus. And what you see happen is people who might be frontline staff, right up to the top, the CEO, the big boss. Because when you laugh, laughter is such a good ego leveler, and it brings people together. And what I've observed, no matter what organisation, business that I go into, there's always someone who's embarrassed, can't do it, or silly, they want to do it.
Yes.
And you've always got somebody who's used to being the one who was the joker, tell the jokes, and all the eyes aren't on them. So in the years I've been doing it, I've noticed if that person is in a group, bring them into it so that they're part of it. And then you'll see the look on the faces as the team realise he's just like them and he can laugh the same way as they can, and they will do it. And they'll connect and they'll communicate. Now, when I go into organisation quite often, because they get such benefit out of it, what happens next is that they will say, could you train someone, please, and have it regularly? And whilst I've not done an official scientific reported paper, the anecdotal evidence I have over these years is the more regularly they have a laughter session, the lower the absenteeism and higher the staff retention, and they are more productive. And, sales teams, they cooperate and communicate. And that's what the laughter does if they have it, even on a one-off. I had a client, they flew me over to Kinabalu in south of Borneo there. Wow. And it was a hotel. and their sales team, and one of them had been in Victoria, and I did it for the parent chain hotel, and their sales team were failing miserably. They couldn't do it together. So I had a day dealing in customer service, sales, and of course incorporated a laughter session. And I'm very proud to say that after I'd been with them, not only did they obtain their goal of having more bums and seats, people in beds, room higher than they had anticipated, they went up some 40% in their sales and having bed occupancy, and they did it under the schedule. Let's get there in 6 months, and they did in a half. And that's because, having done the laughter session, they then had a weekly laughter session. I trained one of the staff, and by coming together and having a laughter session before they had their meetings, instead of saying, oh, I tried to sell something to XYZ company and they weren't interested, and someone said, oh, well, I've already been to them and I could have told you they were worthless. And I said, well, hang on a minute. Now there's the communication. Let's look at it a different way. I didn't say that to them, but that's what I was leading them to. Oh, I'm going to see XYZ company. Anyone approached them before? What do you know about them? How can we do it? And suddenly, because they were connecting, communicating, they had such productivity. It was wonderful.
Oh, great. So with that, how long, say if an organisation is looking at starting to practice a regular laughter session in their workplace, how long do you think that session needs to be for it to make an impact on the staff?
Just as a generalisation, I'd say it's a matter of me going there and training them after having had one session, if that's the path they want to take, with me going back once a month for about 3 months and being part of it without leading. The other people in the team would lead, and I'd have everyone say, please come next time and have a laugh. And that would be a good indicator. Then they move on. Some organisations I would go back and still do 6 monthly, and that's to introduce them to new laughs, because people watching this for the first time and not really familiar with the laughter industry, they're basic laughs. There's only really, one that comes to mind is, for instance, the archer.
Yeah.
Now, the archer laugh, very easy to do. We have to imagine we've got a quiver on our back.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So anybody watching along, let's do it.
Take your big bow, put your bow in front of you, take your arrow out of your quiver. You're going to put it in, pull it back and let it go. But everything we do in laughter always has a sound. So put your bow out. Hey.
Hey.
You go back and you're going to get your arrow. And pulling it back. And you let it go, and it's a bullseye. Ha! Bullseye! Yay! So that archer laugh is very similar to what we do as a 1 metre laugh. Now, anyone who's over a certain age, probably my vintage, would know that if you put your hand out and you measure from the edge of your fingers to the tip of your nose, it's a metre. The old thing, it's actually a yard. You're too young to know what that is, Kathy. Metre. So what we do, same thing, but we're measuring it. I'll walk through once for those watching. So you've got your hand out and you're going to go hair, 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 and celebrate. And I tell people, imagine measuring out a piece of fabric. You've seen this beautiful piece of fabric somewhere and you want to measure it out so that you can have something made and get a blouse. And of course, as you know, everything in laugh balance. So we'll use the other hand and we'll do the 1 metre laugh again.
Great.
I can get that new blouse made. That new shirt. Yay! Yay! And we always celebrate with a very good, very good. Yay! So when I go into an organisation and I'll say to them, okay, so here's some laughs. And when I go back, it's the same laugh, but a different variation. And that's what I love about the laughter industry and fellow leaders and laughter masters. is that we all do things just a little bit different. And
Mm.
can I share with you about the cardigan laugh? You'll laugh at this. For years, I've said to people, we're going to take our imaginary cardigan. It's got 5 buttons. We're going to undo them and take it off, and we'll feel cooler. So, so hot. So hot. Undo it. Those 5 buttons, 4, 5, and you take it off. Nice and cool. Now, only last year, having done that forever, somebody new came to my laughter group, the Laughter Club Geelong. Very proud, as I said, all these years we've been going. And she was doing the cardigan laugh. She said, I like that one. But because she teaches children, she does yoga in schools, she said, Pretty did this version. And she didn't undo the buttons, the 5 buttons like that. She went like this. So come with me, your 5 buttons. And she went, is that 5? Very good, very good.
Very
And a
good.
pat on the back. So it's the same laugh, but in answer to your question, how long? So I would go back, and the leaders would all have their way of showing and opening and closing a meeting, because that's important. And move on. Other organisations do it differently, depending. And there's a couple that I still go back to every 6 months, every year, and we'll do something for them, which is wonderful.
So would you say that they would do, like, in their workplace session, would they do like 15 minutes, half an hour?
Okay, I find a lot of the places where they're in administration before, they'd only do 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's one colleague who works through university. He'd been trained by me and been around for a while. In the department he was in, everyone knew, because he's my anchor person. So he's been doing that since I started. And if I'm not at my laughter club, he will run it. So he had a meeting where there was no decision on an item. They'd been debating it, talking about it for ages. I said, you're always talking about this laughter. Come on, let's stop this bickering and make. So he said, all right, but we're going to do it for 5 minutes. And they did it for 5 minutes and really had a good laugh. Tears down the face, I understand. And at the end of that 5 minutes, okay, let's get back to where we're at. What are we doing? They had consensus within 15 minutes. They've been talking about it. So, that laughter does open up the brain. It does all those beneficial things.
Absolutely. And because it's a natural pathway to diffuse that stress response that we get when we get that tunnel vision in a sort of fight, flight, freeze. And it just kind of relaxes everything so that the mind can open again to new possibilities. Isn't that right?
And it's so good when I hear in the schools again, like the young bullies, if you can teach the bullies to laugh at their tormentors, because what does a bully have? A bully has the power over the person because they're frightened. So I say to the kids, in another school I went to in another state, they had an issue. And I don't say you haven't got it here or you have, I just let them know it was somewhere else. And when someone comes up to you and they're standing over you and want your money for lunch, what I want you to do is I want you to look them in the eye, and even if they're bigger than you, say, so you want money from me? And they say, yes. And then what you're going to do is laugh. And the tormentor, the bully, will look, what's going on here? Then in the loudest voice you can muster, you say, you want me to give you the money I got from my lunchbox from my dad? Well, my dad's so mean. He doesn't give me any money. Now, if you're laughing, it's like saying fire, fire, as opposed to help, help. If people think they've got to come and what's the situation, but if it's a fire they want to see, if you're in the schoolyard and someone is being a bully, and they always do it very so no one knows, laugh and everyone will come running because you're laughing. And this particular kid that I based the case on that was true said he started to laugh and the bully just went, and walked away.
Yeah, right. That's great.
So that's the power of the laughter as a tool in that respect. So that's important.
Yes.
And then you me, you know, how do you do it in the workplace if there is an issue and someone there, the stress, if someone's really in dire straits, you can't go and say, oh, today, to be politically correct, and how are you, Kathy? You don't look yourself, but you go in and you might say, oh, I've had a hell of a day. This day didn't start well. My toast burnt, whatever. We don't have to say that. I had a really lousy start. And the traffic, it was laughable. We didn't move butter, and the traffic, I did this. And put your hand on the steering wheel. If you're watching this, everybody, hand on the steering wheel, put your fingers across the top, and as you're sitting there, you simply go, ho, ho, ha, 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 ho, ho, ha, 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 back the other way, ho, ho, ha, 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 and have a good laugh. And people in the next car be looking right down the window and say, should have the radio on, it's so funny. And you feel much better.
Yes. Oh, that's fabulous. So we're down to our last sort of 5 minutes. So
really?
yeah. So I'd like to ask, what would you say to somebody that is considering doing the training, but is not sure, or they're a little bit scared that the people that they want to take it to might not be interested, or they want to take it into their workplace, but they're nervous about what people are going to think, or if people are going to take to it? What would you say to them?
I would encourage anyone to do the laughter training who is in a position where they have got family first before they have their work colleagues or friends. And by doing it, get a better understanding. There is so much behind it. When people say to me, oh, anyone could do that. No, you can't, because depending on the demographic of the group that's coming in, you need to have an understanding, and you learn that. You need to understand breathing, the essential part of the Hasya yoga, the laughter yoga. And even the benefits of a good smile. We all know about a Deutschen smile, a real smile, not the have a nice day smile, but the one that puts the crow's feet out there. And I always look for people with the crow's feet, because that means they've laughed a lot. Love to be around them. It can help people themselves. It's a blessing to go into a group that's never laughed before and to watch what happens. And I still get joy out of it after 22 years, in that they come, oh, this is just it. Oh, yes, I'll do it. And I tell them it is intentional laughter, simulated laughter, but it builds up into the real thing. And the joy I get is looking at someone who might have taken 5 minutes or 30 minutes, but they're genuinely laughing, because it's, laughter's infectious, it's acted on them. And the benefits, and they say, oh, God, I feel like I've had a full workout. Well, yes, you use every muscle of you. And you learn that when you do laughter leader training. And having someone like yourself do the leader training who's experienced, that's a blessing too, because you're going to get all the extras. That's about it, really. Yeah. Laughter is the best medicine, not only for others, but yourself.
Yes, it's wonderful, and it's natural, and it's universal. It's a universal language that transcends language. So we've still got a few minutes, so I guess I'd love to keep chatting, but we'll have to do it another time. But what would say your three gems that you would like to share with people about laughter yoga, or whether that's something that you've experienced yourself, something that you've seen people that come to your laughter clubs experience, or a story from a workplace? What are like 3 laughter gems that you would like to share?
I'll tell a story that impacted on me. Earlier last year, a woman came to the class, and it was being run, and she said, oh, we've actually laughed together before. And I said, I don't remember. She said, I came to your laughter club one Saturday morning, and I joined you after walking around the boardwalk, which is where we are on the bay, the beautiful boardwalk. And when she came and joined me, and there was no one else. And this is why I say can help one person.
Mm.
So I said, well, you're here, we're going to laugh. I said, it's laughable that no one's got out of bed because it's -2 degrees. Just laugh. And we laughed, and because other people, and I bring other people in, come and join us for a laugh. And she laughed, and we kept laughing. And we went our separate ways, and she kept thanking me so sincerely because it was just me and her, and I was prepared to stay and just do it for one. So when she came back to the class, she said to me, Phillipa, I have to thank you because that day I was actually going to commit suicide, and you brought me back from laughter. So you can't put that into a scientific study. It's an anecdote that I treasure. And I say to everybody, just smile and laugh every day. First of all, with yourself. That's why I look in the mirror every day and say, hi, gorgeous, and share it with as many people as you can. And what you give out comes back to you. So I live by the principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the 3 R's of life: respect for others, respect for yourself, and responsible for all your actions. So everyone take that on board, have a good laugh, share that laugh with as many people as you can. And you know what happens? Sometimes the world just turns into a better place. I mean, I got COVID, and long COVID still with me. But hey, I lost 10.8 kilos in 6 days. And what a gift I got out of COVID. Sick as a dog, but so there's always that wonderful component that you can laugh. And thank you, what you do, Kathy, always spreading that epidemic of laughter. I read with joy all your postings and your wee one, and know that you are making a difference. And I like to think I've made a difference with others, and I've left them, as my business says, just live life laughing.
And so tell us about your laughter club. We've still got a minute left. So where can people, if people just happen to be down visiting or living in Geelong, where can they find you?
Every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in front of the wading pool, the swimming enclosure on Eastern Beach in Geelong. It's a landmark, everybody knows it. And we might be there at 5 to 9, but we'll be there at 9 and go for half an hour. And then afterwards, we go and have more laughter over a latte, usually at the yacht club because it's so handy. And it's amazing how people, some come for each week, some just occasionally, but there's always someone to share a laugh with.
Fabulous. So I'm going to put Phillipa's website in the description below of this video. So if you want to connect with her, find out more about what she does, you can find the details there. And also my website, if you want to follow along with me, is kathypopplewell.com. Follow along here on YouTube or Facebook and Instagram. I'm Daintree Love over there, and let's go out with a laugh. Thank you so much for your time, Phillipa, and for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.